Alright everyone, in today's video I'm going to be sharing 14 basic tips and tricks in our creators that you can use to your benefit. So if you're kind of new, this is the video for you. Alright, so the first tip of the day is the dodge roll. So if you dodge roll just before landing from like a rooftop or like a high ground, you'll be able to do a roll just before hitting the ground. And what that does is basically negates the damage that you should be taking while jumping off the rooftop. So I tested off with this roof, and this is kind of the limit from where you can't take damage. Like if you go any higher, you won't be able to do the dodge roll. So this is the height that approximately puts the dodge roll to the limit. Alright, as for the next tip, pretty much simple. If you shoot hornets and wasps in the wings, it's a lot easier to take them down. Usually it takes 2 out of the 4 wings to shoot them down, but with the hornets, you gotta be careful not to shoot the front wings because they are armored. So only the back wings are the ones that are not protected, and it is kind of a little bit hard to do that, but if you manage to do it, it is very possible. So the next tip is really useful if you didn't know you can do this. If you go to the workshop and any of the stations, click on them and go track resources. You can track the resources that you need to level up the bench or like in any other station that you have in your workshop. So if you go at any bench, if you go into the track resources, you'll be able to track stuff on the map. And once you're in the game, you should be able to open the map and you'll be able to see the required resources on the left, and you'll be able to scroll through them and see exactly what you need to find on the map. Next step is a lot more useful than you think. You can melee the cameras and the alarms that are stationed in the building or around the building. So if you try to jump and melee at the same time, you'll be able to destroy the camera without having to use a gun and alert the other people in the vicinity. So why is this useful? Well, if you destroy both of these, you will not be able to alert any people that are trying to approach the building, or sometimes even arc machines which are attracted to the sound. So it's a pretty useful tip if you do not want to alert anybody. Alright, tip number 5, you can use the cogwheel if you press G and try to communicate with other people that you are friendly or that you agree with them, you know, that you disagree with them. It is kind of like basic communication if you do not use voice chat. It's kind of good to announce yourself like that if the people are not using proximity voice chat. So using that cogwheel can save you a life or two if people don't know that you're in vicinity and they start immediately blasting at you. Next step is kind of nice if you are going to be engaging people. So if you use the V button, you can move slower than normal walking. And what that makes is your footsteps are a lot more quieter than usually. So if you know that somebody's in the building and you want to sneak up to them, use that button and they most likely will not be able to hear you come through that door. The next step involves using the skill tree. So what you usually want to go when leveling up first in our creators is to push for the trees 3 points into the agile croucher and then revitalizing squat into the in-round crafting. So why is this important? Well, in-round crafting lets you craft items in the game. So if you have enough fabrics, if you have like some shields that you want to craft, you'll be able to if you have the materials for it. So it's very useful if you run out of those and you kind of need to restock in the game. Next tip number 8. Crouching can make you almost invisible to arc machines, and staying still makes you even more stealthier. So if you see the arc machines are scanning around the area and you're running around and they kind of get alerted, you can still get away from them if you crouch immediately, and most likely they will not be able to notice you if you're far enough. But as I said, crouching will make you a lot more invisible than just like walking or straight up running, because that will alert them immediately. Alright, next tip is regarding the quests. So if you're trying to find some quest items and you don't know where you can find them on the map, you can pretty much just zoom in the map and find all the other smaller places on the map that usually the quests are located in. And if you still struggle, there's a custom map on the internet where pretty much people have located every single quest and exact location where it is located. And I'll be linking that website so you guys can see exactly where you gotta go and pick up the things that you need for the quests. Alright, next one, pretty simple. Locked rooms usually have blueprints in bags or weapon caches. So if you have a locked room that requires a key and you have the key for that room, more likely it is if you go in the night that the locked rooms will spawn blueprints in the bags or the weapons caches, as there is a greater chance for it. And if you do want, I mean, you can find those bags and weapon caches all around other maps, but you got to use the custom map and see exactly what it is. But as I said, locked rooms, higher chance of actually having blueprints in the bags. Alright, the next step is pretty much nice to know. If you're playing with a free loadout and you extract, you have the free loadout augment. And what you can do with that free loadout augment is if you go to the traders and to the clinic, you can exchange those free loadout augments for combat MK1, looting MK1, or the tactical MK1 augments. They're pretty much like free augments that you can exchange for that, as you have a save slot when you exchange, and more slots and more loadout weight that you can exchange for that free loadout. And I do that every time I do a free run. Immediately change for that, and then I can use it. Next tip, I didn't even know existed until my friend pointed it out. If you go to Scrappy the rooster, you can train the rooster so it gives more items every time you go into the raid. Of course, there's like different levels of training for the chicken, and I'll link the video so you can see the wiki page and what are the requirements for the chicken. But yeah, if you upgrade it, you'll get more and more materials, and it just stacks up a lot in the late game. And I just don't know what to do with all the materials that I get constantly. All right, tip number 13. It is pretty nice if you carry 2 weapons in the game. So why am I saying this? So if you're engaging people and you have, for example, like a Pharaoh, which is like a single shot weapon that deals like a lot of damage. If you shoot them with the Pharaoh and then follow up with the kettle, you'll be able to most likely down them. So it's always nice to have double weapons, as you don't have to reload one and potentially get gunned down by another person pushing you. So always, but always carry 2 weapons. And as for the last tip for the day, if you go to traders and then Celeste, you can use the seeds that you get from the chicken, or if you loot them in game, to buy like all sorts of different items. Of course, you do not unlock all these items immediately, because it takes a lot of levels to unlock all of these items to be able to purchase them. But basic items like chemicals, fabric, maybe metal parts, plastics in the beginning. And then you unlock the green ones, blue ones, purple ones. So the more you level up, the more stuff you'll be able to buy off of her. And it's pretty useful, because later on you can use those things if you go into workshop and then refiner, and then use all those materials that you have to be able to craft some items that you need later on. So yeah, that's pretty much my 14 basic tips and tricks if you are a beginner player, of course. And if you're not, maybe you found some of the tips useful if you didn't know them. But yeah, I'll be making more of these videos for our creators. If you guys enjoy the content like this, please do like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below, because it helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, I'll be seeing you guys.